Good evening and welcome to the Power of Now. I am glad to be here with you and hope we will have a delightful discussion tonight. As you will see, there's a picture of my partner, Mitchell Slade, who will not be joining us tonight because she's not feeling well. So please send your words of encouragement and health and well-being to her so she can be back to normal as soon as possible. So tonight we're going to talk about what I refer to as the power of quiet emotions. But before we begin, I just want to just share a couple of things. This week I heard two things that kind of stuck with me and reminded me of why everything we are doing is necessary. I heard these really insightful words from the comedian Chris Rock, who said, "We used to want love, now we just want likes." I thought that was really powerful because it says a lot about where we are and the work that we need to do. Today I saw something that was really interesting. I learned of a new disorder called intermittent explosive disorder, which is now a clinical diagnosis for the temper tantrums that adults are now throwing in stores, on planes, and wherever you can think about it. I think there's something that connects both of those together. And I think there's an underlying disconnect that we are experiencing, or some of us are experiencing in our lives. So, the topics that we've talked about the last couple of weeks and what we're going to talk about tonight kind of help to kind of bridge, that disconnect and bring us together, internally. So when we talk about tonight, we're going to cover two emotions, and only two of the quiet emotions. There are more. But tonight we'd like to talk about gratitude and forgiveness and why they're so beneficial to us. And as we begin to talk about gratitude, I like to express, a bit of gratitude to those in the audience, or they may be in the audience, and I'm going to call them up by name because I just think it's really important. One, I want to express, myself and Coach Mitchell want to express gratitude to her brother, Bryant, who sent us a really nice gift. And I'm saying it's a really nice gift. It's a headset and microphone. And if you pick up laughter, I'm kind of laughing because these brothers saw our issues, our technical issues with our, audio set, and took it upon himself to send us a set. Now, the only reason we're not using it tonight because Mitchell's not here, and we're still trying to get it to work properly. But again, thank you, Brian, from both myself and Mitchell. I want to thank Pastor Nicole for giving us the shout out on her platform last week as well. And a personal thank you to Mr. Washington, who expressed his gratitude for some work that I did for him as a consultant last week. Your gratitude was definitely appreciated. So I wanted to just get that out the way. And Mitchell and I, also had gratitude of someone really not as simple as giving us air when we had a flat tire last week. We both appreciated it, and the young man refused to take any kind of tip from us. And while some may overlook that, it really goes to signify why we're talking about gratitude and forgiveness and why we need to express it, because both are they're signs to bridge our disconnect within ourselves and with others. So I talk about quiet emotions and then think about things like gratitude. Gratitude technically is not considered to be an emotion. It's really considered to be an attitude. And that's why you may hear the phrase, the attitude of gratitude. And it almost becomes a way of life. And here's the really important thing about gratitude and forgiveness. They both have health benefits to us that has been proven by research. When we talk about, gratitude, when we develop a life of, or attitude of gratitude, or develop a lifestyle where we live in a space of gratitude for all that's around us, it is improvement. It improves our sleep. It improves our mood. It improves our immunity. So it basically improves our immune system. It decreases depression, anxiety, difficulties with chronic pain, and risk of disease. Now, I find that really interesting because, again, I'm a person who believes that we are designed to heal ourselves. And we have moved away from that because we've been searching so much over the last few generations, exploring all that's outside of us. And we have forgotten to look within, which is something, ancient cultures did. So if you begin to, look at these things that I share tonight, and you realize you have the ability to improve your health by doing, I'm going to say simple things. So when you come back and you begin to, think about it, by doing something as simple as expressing your thankfulness to others can improve your health. But guess what? It also improves the other person. How many times have you done something and someone expressed was really thankful for something that you might have thought was minor? Or just say, again, it was exchange between two people. You hold the door open, someone looks at you, smiles, and says thank you. And kind of flip that. Think about when you do something and somebody doesn't, show any expression of gratitude. So we think that, if we want to start building gaps and start a journey of healing in every area that we, as I say, in the places, spaces, and faces that we encounter, we want to do it one way is by expressing gratitude. Sometimes you talk to people, it's hard to find gratitude when we're going through difficult time. When things are really challenging in our life, we may find it difficult, but that's actually the time that we want to, express our gratitude. It takes a little effort, but when you get used to practicing gratitude on a regular basis, you will be able to, look at things in your life where you can find, gratitude, which leads to another point. People sometimes think about gratitude and thankfulness, synonymously, and while they can be used that way, they're actually two different things or part of a greater whole. Thankfulness is usually something that we do when, in response to an event or a situation, whereas gratitude is something that we, that's part of our lifestyle. It's really an attitude. Let me give you an example. You could be grateful for your home and your family, but be thankful for something that someone in your family just did for you today, yesterday, last week. So they are, synonymous. They are part of a greater whole. So let's think about it. Some of the other benefits of practicing gratitude is they say it can release toxic emotions. Now that's really important because I think we are likely to carry a lot of toxic emotions with us just given the world in which we're living in now, which sort of ties back to something that we talked about a couple weeks ago about intention. You have to be intentional about these things going on to be able to deal with, all of the external forces. So practicing intentional gratitude, having those moments where you just say to yourself, yeah, I'm very grateful for, whatever. Make it a point of finding those things, because it's so easy, as we've all heard, or learned over years, it's so easy to take things for granted. So practice that gratitude. They always say that gratitude positively changes your brain for the better, whereas guilt does the opposite. So you begin to see or understand that what goes on inside of us has a major impact on our health, and our overall well-being. And as one doctor said, if you could package this stuff in a pill, people would buy it. But when you say, hey, you've already given this, people want to yell, yeah. But it's there. We just are not practicing or not utilizing what we were given. So let's see. Oh, here's the other thing about gratitude. So I was just glancing at some of my notes. When we practice gratitude, it tends to expand throughout our life and gives us a positive outlook on life. And just do a slight exercise and take a moment and think about something that you're grateful for. And what I've done with other groups is when you do it, note your body reaction. And then just take a moment. I believe we have some people who've joined us, and I believe that would be Dr. Parchment, my childhood friend and frat brother. Welcome. I call him Brother Dr. Parchment. Thank you for joining us. I hope other people will join soon as well. And no, hold on. Yeah. No, actually, if anybody's making a comment, I cannot see it from where I'm sitting. Let me see if I switch over. Now, often the expression of gratitude is like medicine to challenge the heart. Yes, that's actually one of the things that I put in the description, that practicing gratitude is also important to your vitals. I'm saying gratitude and forgiveness. So you will see someone's cover that as well. So, once again, going back to that moment, finding a moment, and you can express gratitude in this moment for somebody that's not even here anymore. That's another beauty. The expression of gratitude can be something that occurred many years ago. You can still be grateful for something that somebody did. And again, I'm glad Dr. Parchment's here, because he's someone I know who makes it a habit of expressing his gratitude, and I've been thankful to be the recipient of his gratitude. And you can express gratitude, and you want to make a difference in someone else's life for something that you can express gratitude for something that they did a long time ago. They may have forgot about, but it's something that you do to somebody when you are grateful for something that they thought was minor, but like I said, it was big to them. So I said, never let small deeds go unrecognized. Somebody help me out here. I've just seen the comment. It's very difficult to be mad or angry and express gratitude at the same time. See, that's from Al, and you're absolutely right. It absolutely is very difficult to be in a state of gratefulness and to be mad and angry. And you kind of think about that. We sometimes get caught in wanting to be mad and angry. And that's connected to something else. It's actually connected to the desire to be a victim. But you ever been around somebody and you give them all the logic why they shouldn't be mad or angry, but they just choose to stay there. You maybe crack a few jokes and they still try to hold on to their anger because, as Dr. Parker just pointed out, you can't occupy two polar emotions in the same space. So you choose to do either be grateful, to be joyous, to be happy, or to be angry and mad. So there is a lot of research done by a lot of, I'm going to say, top institutions regarding gratitude and forgiveness. And I think it is something we need to take note of. So as you go through your days, at the end of each day, think about 3 things that you are grateful for. And they could be minor. Now, again, connecting this discussion with something we talked about a couple weeks ago, intention to say, look, when you wake up in the morning, you want to be mindful of things that you're going to be intentional about that day. Mm-hmm. And then you want to, hey there, you guys using those. I'm on the best from Bryant. Bryant, no, that's because I'm only here tonight by myself, and we're trying to figure out how to work the dual mics. But if you went on earlier, I gave you a huge shout out and appreciation for that gift of the mic. So Brian is here joining us, but we're going to get those mics up and running and actually waiting on a response from the company for a little tech support guidance. But we're on it. And again, thank you again. So as you go forward, with your thankfulness, you want to ask yourself, is your thankfulness really under the umbrella of your gratitude? Now, what does that mean? We can say thank you to people who will actually do things for us. That's somewhat can be easy depending, somebody's done something really significant for us to express gratitude. But we want to get to the point where we're expressing gratitude even on the small things. And this goes back to, someone holding the door for you. To be able to take them. Yeah. Hold on. Okay. When someone does anything for you, no matter how small, it doesn't hurt to express that moment a thank you. And make it sincere. Because as I said earlier, that is a difference. It makes a difference in the other person. Now, here's the interesting thing. I got into a discussion with someone a couple of years ago about this, that, when we do something for people, we shouldn't expect anything in return. And my response to that is, when I express my gratitude, that's my participation in the overall good. No, that person may not be expecting it. Mm-hmm. But it is my responsibility as somebody does something for me to express the gratitude. Because on a larger scale, as I put it to them, that keeps the system going. Because if I express gratitude to the thing that person has done for me, they are more likely to do it for someone else. If people stop expressing gratitude, then do you want to list that people who are doing are being gracious? Will they, are doing the good? Will they stop? Because there are times where we can become deflated if we do something and somebody doesn't at least say thank you. So when you express more gratitude, you're also open to recognizing, the or being more expressive with things that people do for us. So, for instance, it's like an ongoing circle. So, if I say thank you to someone, like I said, they in turn will be more likely to say thank you to someone else. So we kind of all have this responsibility in terms of bridging, these crevices and, in some cases, canyons that we are experiencing as a society. So I really urge and challenge, everyone to, go out, starting now, won't say tomorrow, won't say tonight, say starting now. Think about something that you can say thank you to someone. And then think about something that you can be grateful for. So if you're, have access to a phone, you can text someone, you can call someone. You can think about something that somebody did for you today that you can say thank you for, or maybe yesterday. Or more importantly, on a larger scale, you can just express gratitude to someone. So don't hesitate to begin showing that, I'm going to say, quiet emotion. And again, I call it quiet emotion because these are things that we tend to do in our quiet alone time, where we have those moments where we, may recognize, wow, that was really nice what somebody did, it's really gracious. So think about, those moments, and if you can't find anything, I don't think you're looking hard enough. If you can't be thankful to someone, then be thankful to the divine. Because you're still here, you're still breathing. That's something to be thankful for and grateful. All right, the next thing is, we're going to talk about forgiveness. Forgiveness is the other thing, another quiet emotion. Now, today, a couple of gentlemen had in the chat, had a discussion about forgiveness. And there were really two different perspectives, and they both had valid points. Forgiveness is something I think that's even harder for us to do than being grateful. Because usually forgiveness requires thinking about something that occurred to us that was not good. It usually requires, thinking about the person and the act, and then trying to forgive them. I think it takes a lot more strength to forgive someone, probably more than being grateful during difficult times. I remember, years ago, and this is when it really stuck with me, about people being able to forgive, was when the non-African Americans were assassinated in a church in South Carolina. And that next day, family members came out and they forgave the perpetrator. And I thought, whoa, that is pretty deep. And I had to say to myself, I don't know if I could do that. And you begin to recognize that takes, a lot of strength. We don't have to look at that as being maybe weak, which quite often, I'm going to say the uninformed or the unevolved will look at all the soft emotions as signs of weakness, when in actuality it is not. It's really a sign that you have evolved on levels that most people cannot relate to. But to, express that level of forgiveness in such a short time is powerful. And because you can recognize, say, oh, I wouldn't do that, doesn't mean that people who do it are wrong. And just like being grateful. Forgiveness has health benefits too, which is why something else we want to incorporate. Now, you know, like you have fewer. Well, let me just kind of back up and say this. Think about when and I hope I didn't lose anybody because I disappeared. All right, give me 1 second here. Okay, yeah. If you've ever been mad at someone, can you remember how you felt? I mean, just think about how you feel when you're angry and mad at someone. And if you've never had that experience, then good for you. But I would say to people, when they say to me, "Oh, I always seem like I'm in a good mood," I say, "Well, that's not true. I try to be, but it's not true." But I've come to learn that I don't like to be in a bad mood because I realize it sucks the life out of my day. And when you have a lot on your agenda, you can't afford to, be walking around all uptight, mad, as they say, like you're sucking on a lemon. So you know that when you are mad at someone, it's going to create a level of stress in your body. And as I've shared either here on the Health and Wellness platform, they say 60 to 70% of the doctor's visit can be traced to stress. So while you may think it's cool to be stressed or to start barking at people, to be mad, it's not. You're really taking yourself out, at a slower rate. This is the time where I would refer to, there's a scene in the movie Lean On Me where Morgan Freeman is on the roof with the young kid, who's smoking crack. And he's just telling you, you're just killing your brain cells, and there's a word that stuck out that became part of, the social colloquialism, which was, why don't you just jump? Do it expeditiously. Stop killing yourself slowly. Just go ahead and jump. But that's what you do if you're walking around mad every day. You're killing yourself. So while you're holding something against someone for doing you wrong, that person may have moved on, went on about it, and not thought much of it. Whereas you're the only one holding it. Now, some people might also think that forgiving is the same thing as forgetting. And I think there's a whole lot of opinions on this. You can forgive someone. It doesn't mean you have to ever let them back in your life. Doesn't mean that we're going to be buddies again. Depending on what they did, it may not be. But you're no longer holding on to the anger or the hurt. You've moved beyond that. And you're doing it for your own health. So I said, believe it or not, when we're unforgiving, it shows up in our body. It shows up as backache, muscle tension, dizziness, headaches, upset stomach, higher blood pressure, and a diminished immune system. Because what we need to realize, anything, if you understand the connection between mind and body, then this will make sense to you. But anything going on in our head will manifest in our body. They're not two separate. They're part, again, of the greater. So those thoughts and emotions that you are carrying around with you will find their way to express themselves through our body. So the moment we can start to begin to realize just how powerful our thoughts and emotions are and how to control them, the better off we will be. Because those, and I believe, is that Al or Brian? Yes, mindset, exactly. That mindset, plays a powerful part of actually our reality. Mhm. And I don't want to get off topic there, but our mindset, our thoughts and emotions are so directly tied to our reality. They manifest. They create the reality. We sometimes may not be aware of it. It may come sooner, it may come later, but it is just how it's all part of our existence. So, if you want to become healthier, begin to think about: are you holding on to any thoughts and emotions, beliefs, stories, or, as Coach Mitchell and myself will always say, are you holding on to bets that aren't paying off for you? What are those? Your beliefs, your emotions, your thoughts, and your stories. Mm-mm. You know, you want to begin to do that inner work. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Well, now when you get to being forgiving or being grateful, remember that it is a conscious, intentional effort. And I believe we have someone else who joined us, Mr. John Washington. Mhm. Yeah, thank you. And John, you missed. I gave you a shout out earlier. Today we're talking about forgiveness and gratefulness. Hmm. So, so going back, I said, you are tapping into the power of these two emotions. It has to be a conscious decision, because you're going to let go, especially with forgiveness. You're going to decide that you're going to let go of negative feelings, and it's not whether the person deserves it or not, because that's one of the things that we will think about. Oh, you know what? I ain't gonna forget that person because they don't deserve it. What they did was absolutely wrong, and you are absolutely right. And most people normally I will always ask the question is, do you want to be right or do you want to win? In that particular situation, you can't have both. Yes, you're right. Yes, you can justify, your point of view, but you won't win because you're going to hold on to those negative emotions and they're going to slow you down. Mm. So when you begin to forgive, what you're really doing is you're going to release the anger, the resentment, hostility, and and this is the beautiful part of it. The way we're designed, you will almost immediately begin to feel empathy, compassion, toward that person. And again, going back to the family of the victims of the South Carolina, church murders, I think what they did is they were able to release that. And they did it so quickly. So I don't want you to think that you have to do it that quickly, but I want you to kind of just think about: are you able to move to that point? Are you willing to move to that point where anything that you're holding toward anyone, can you begin to let it go? And part of that is beginning to think about how you respond quickly to something, how you respond negatively to something where somebody may have done wrong to you. My classic example is: how do you respond when someone cuts you off on a highway? Mm-hmm. Now, I want you to think about that. And we all know that we probably had a journey where our first reaction was we lost it. But in that moment, do you know if that person cut you off intentionally? That response ties to the point I raised when I opened up about this new clinical diagnosis called intermittent explosive disorder, which is just a nice way of, justifying people's ridiculous behavior in public spaces. If you respond to a point of, going after the person, wanting to engage the person, maybe wanting to do harm to the person, or family or friends who do that. Mhm. You want to begin to think about, can you quickly forgive or ignore someone's behavior, especially if you don't know why? Because as Coach Mitchell and I talked about, quite often we make up a whole story in our head in the moment. So we will go to a point from 0 to 100 about that event that just happened, when there's a possibility that the person probably did not even see you. And I'm going to share a method for being able to become more forgiving, which actually ties into that particular situation. Have you ever, for all the drivers out there, have you ever in your entire driving career cut someone off? Mm-hmm. At least once. And my second question, did you do it intentionally? I would hope that the answer would be yes and no. If the answer is yes and yes, then you need to come to another discussion that involves counseling. Mm-hmm. But most of us have done that before. And I know at times where you've done it and you're really that moment thankful that nothing happened, where you literally did not see that person driving. Mm-hmm. So is it possible it could have happened in reverse? You want to work toward where you can process that in the moment, because that will also control subsequent behaviors. Mm-hmm. So here's something that actually came out of Harvard Health Publishing about practicing forgiveness, and it's called the REACH method. Mm-hmm. And the R stands for recall, and this sort of ties into what I was just sharing is, what can you recall the wrongdoing in an objective way? Mm-hmm. Meaning that you're not going to think about the person in a negative light, or you're not going to play the victim or any of that. You're going to really try to just look at the situation to gain a clear understanding of the wrong that was done. And I know, again, that's going to be hard if you were the recipient or you're the one that's being injured in some form or fashion. Are you ever able, and not so much in this situation, but are you ever able to disagree with what someone did from your perspective, but possibly agreeing with what they did from their perspective? Now, I don't know if you got that. Are you able to say, oh, well, I disagree with it, but I understand why they did it? Because you begin to say, yeah, I would have never done that, but I understand why that person did it, given who they are and given the situation. So you want to be able to recall something and play it back to try to get an understanding of the situation and all the feelings that come with it. Then the next step, the E in the REACH method, is empathize, where you're really trying to understand that person's point of view. Other one is the A, actually stands for altruistic gift. It says this is a step about addressing your own, your own shortcomings and wrongdoings, which is, can you recall a time when you did something similar to someone? Because then you're going to realize, well, you know what? I'm now criticizing this person. I'm mad at this person, but guess what? I made that mistake too. And I think if you can get to that place, you will also begin to realize, well, you know what? Maybe it truly was unintentional. Because think about it this way: we make everything about us. We live in this world and we think everything occurs because of us. So that these people had nothing else better to do than to do something to me, to Darren, that they don't even know. Now, there's always a possibility, like I said, it could have just been an accident. Or the person could really be who they are. And it wasn't about you, it was still about who they are. The C in reach is commit. Commit yourself to forgive. Now, and this helps, like I said, with the decisional side of forgiveness. Commit to, I'm going to find a way to forgive only because I need to release this. And the more you have going on in your life, the more of a reason why you need to forgive. Because you don't want to carry, or as I think Dr. Parshman pointed out earlier, you can't carry your polar emotions simultaneously. So we're carrying anger, we're carrying, being mad. We don't have the mental capacity to be as creative to express who we really are if we don't walk around mad. So that's a reason why you want to make a commitment to forgiving. The H is for hold. It says, and hold on to your forgiveness. So this is tough because memories of the event will often occur. And so forgiveness is not erasure. So we know when we think about something, it can trigger some negative emotions. And that's why we want to hold on to the forgiveness. Here's something, like I said, every time we bring up a negative memory, as I mentioned in previous conversations, what does it do? Our body goes into a state of stress and we relive it all over again. When we can, recount, recapture, and experience in our life and share it without the emotional component, that's the point where they say it becomes wisdom. And think about what we always consider an old wise person. They speak with very little negative emotion. These things happened to me. This is what I learned. I moved on. So you want to kind of consider that as part of maybe your own growth. So again, that was what's called the reach. Recall, empathize, altruistic give, commit, and hold. So tonight, we talked about two different, quiet emotions. One's called, gratitude, and the other one is called forgiveness. Any input, any thoughts about, the two topics, 2 points of view? All right. Again, I am grateful that you joined us and thankful that you are here tonight. Very much appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys next week. And at that point, Coach Mitchell will be, back with us. Any questions, you know how to reach out to us. Thank you. And see you next week.